good old audio cassettes. Look at these. We're not going to be looking at those today. Instead we're going to go even older. We've got a Sony tape, a magnetic sound recording tape, Sony. We're going to look at open reel audio tape recorders. I've got a couple of them here. Been sitting around for a while. So we'll take them apart, see what's going on inside, and see if we can get them to work. Maybe, depending on what we find inside. It could be pretty dodgy. Just thought I'd dig out these interesting things since I hadn't looked at them for a while. So 2 units to have a look at. First one, Aiwa solid state portable TP730. It's got some tape in there. I've had this for a very long time. I don't know where it came from, probably someone gave it to me, but I only ever had this tiny take-up reel, the only empty reel I had, so you couldn't get to the end of the bigger tapes because this would get too full. Also got this, a tape letter. It means you record a message on there and write an address and put a stamp on it and send it to someone. It's interesting. Look at that going all crusty. It says made in Australia on it by Kodak. Yeah, that's where you need these little ones because... Anyway, this is a long play tape, 45 meters, depending on the speed, 7.5 minute at 3.5 inches per second, which you can choose the speed by that. This is a portable tape recorder. See by how nice and compact it is. There's something rattling around inside it. It says it can be operated by 6 volts DC. It's got a battery cover thing there. It says high voltage inside. Do not open cabinet. This unit is fully transistorized and does not contain tubes or uses serviceable components. So that's good. Interesting, it's got a voltage selector, 110 to 120 or 220 to 240. It's a little bit weird it doesn't have a 100 volt range. But on the side here it just says it's 220 to 240. Or it just says may change operating voltage to that. Okay. And it's got a weird little plug there for the power. We'll look at that in a moment. On the other side there's nothing on the back. See this little badge thing. And the speaker on the front. Presumably just one speaker in there. It's got various IOs. Auxiliary, microphone, external speaker. We've got the official microphone. Look at that. It's got a switch on it for the pause, so that comes on to that other connector. And then dynamic microphone. Quite a nice style. Remember that. Microphones that have a switch on it and they got this double plug thing. It's got an AVC, automatic volume control I guess. Volume, a tone, a neon presumably for AC on. I don't think there's a power switch, it's just on when you push play presumably. Okay, so it's got the AC input, this kind of plug, apparently rated at 6 amps, 250 volts. It's set to the 220 volt mode at the moment, which is a bit weird. Bit weird considering what's at the other end of this cable. Look at this. A really nice plug. Back when they used to make them nice. This is almost the best one I've seen, or that I have here at the moment. Look at that, nice and compact, not like the big ugly ones you get these days with a big flange on them. It's almost as good as the one that comes with this Sun Pack photo flash. which is unfortunately not in good shape. But yeah, that's a photo flash. Original box. Here's the cord for it. Look at that. That's how it should be. No wastage. It's no bigger than it needs to be. Yeah, this one's rated at 125 volts, 10 amps. That's pretty optimistic for that size of cable. Look how good this is when it plugs into a power strip. It only just covers the slots. That's really nice. Yeah, this interesting power strip, it's got a removable cable on it. And you can hear the good noise of the little bumps in the pins locking into those holes. A very good positive connection. Anyway, that's the power cord that comes with this thing. It's got a nice little compact plug on it, like they should be. No wastage, easy to store, and you just gotta be a little bit careful when plugging it in because that would be live now. But that's okay, it keeps you on your toes. Anyway, let's plug this. Well, no, we're not going to plug this thing in because it's probably ruined. We'll take a look inside first. It used to work. I remember that the tone of it was very thin and high pitch, so it probably meant that capacitors in it were on their way out, and that was a long time ago, probably more than 20 years ago when I last used it. It's got screws down these holes, feet. I'm guessing the belt is wrecked in it now. Oh, there's nothing in that one. Oh no, look at that. Something was a bit stuck and it freed up when I pushed it. Look at that, there's no insulation on the voltage selector. This would just be live if you touched it. Also, the way the wires are connected into that plug is pretty dodgy. So there's a switch on there. These little wires go to a switch thing, and that would get pushed when this AC plug goes in to disconnect the battery. Oh yeah, it's hard to see from this angle. Look at that there. So when this cord gets plugged in, you can see a little piece lifts up and it changes that switch from contacting the one on this side to the one on the left side. So that will be disconnecting the battery and connecting the power source to be presumably the output of a power transformer that's hiding somewhere in this. I guess it's that. Because that's got those thicker, that white and blue wire go onto there. Oh yeah, look at that, and there's a tapping that goes over to there, which will be where that neon is. So that will come on as soon as you plug it in. And look at that, that wire's got a burn mark in it right next to that, which is the live coming in. Wow. So the AC coming in here, voltage selector, which changes it to either a blue or a white wire depending on what voltage you've got, which is those two. And then the other side of the AC is this orange wire, which goes to a fuse, glass fuse, and then onto the transformer. Right next to that, the battery connector. It looks like it perfectly touches that. Look at that. The battery positive terminal is burned through, and you can see the conductors inside, I think. Or maybe it's just soldered dross. But yeah, it's right there, so that must have rubbed on that solder connection. That's so dodgy. This is why, yeah, we can't have nice things. Yeah, older appliances are a little bit rough and ready. This looks like it's ready to go, doesn't it? Might as well just turn it on and see what happens. So the motor's there. That seems to work. The belt looks kind of flimsy, but it's really grippy. So that's promising. Although, there is a drip. Oh, hang on. I think that's what was rattling around inside it. A very dirty capacitor. And a resistor. 16 volt, 33 microfarad. And it's just broken off. I wonder where that came from. Could have been on here as some filtering. This little tiny old school diode rectifier there. Yeah, not sure what to do about that at the moment. Doesn't look very happy, and there's a smear of brown juice stuff down the side there. So it's possible that the capacitors in this are unhappy. See, there's several of them there. Let's see if we can take this board off and look at it. Presumably it's got a switch on it along there, which gets pressed by the mechanism. And there's too many wires. These are tied down with a thing. Maybe we can get it up one edge by undoing that thing. Hang on. That there has a little heatsink for some transistors. I don't want to. Oh, I don't want to wiggle that too much, and then that happened. Oh, the transistors weren't fixed, attached onto the mechanism. What can we do to lift that up? Yeah, the problem is the wires from down there are too short, and the wires from there got this little cord stuff tying the wires on. I wonder if maybe we should cut that one off. Probably have to cut that one off as well. And then we've got to bend some of the wires out of the way to look at the other side of the board. Not really. There we go. Oh, look at that. That's pretty... How you doing this? That's a switch of some sort which gets pushed by... I think it's... you see, the record button is this other little thing here with that lever on it, and that, when you push it in, will allow that switch thing to get dragged over by the play button, and then that pushes it back. And so that switch there will be selecting whether it's in record or play mode. Yeah, there's the transistors with a little heatsink band thing on them that went down to that. Some kind of weird little thing there, I don't know what that is. Possibly some kind of signal diode. It's really tiny. Little tiny blob thing there. Metal can, transistors, two of them there, another there. All these old axial style capacitors. Yeah, there's more brown juice down the side here. So it's probably been unhappy about something. Presumably the capacitors. I don't know if it's worth trying to replace all of those, or should we just try it as is and see what happens. Not really sure what to do with this thing. To keep it or not. Maybe give it to someone who wants to sort it out. Down in the front there's some brackets which hold the pots for the controls. And the other one over here. Still don't know where that stuff has fallen off from. Didn't really seem to be any obviously missing components on that circuit board. It could be anywhere. Not very much to it, is it? It's just an amplifier that can go in both, a couple of amplifiers, one for recording and one for play. and some kind of oscillator thing for erasing the tape. Okay, let's try it out. What we'll do is shut it back up. I don't know, it's just going to work, isn't it? It'll be fine. Put the voltage selector on to 110 volts, but we'll try powering it from 100 volts because that supply is isolated, which might be safer, maybe. Probably not. And we'll see what happens. Let's go. Oh, that lit up. Oh, look at that. Maybe it's mint. Still good. On this master tape. It says MSS Recording Company Limited. Okay. And this is a EMI tape made in Great Britain. Oh, it's snapped off a bit. And that's also bent.
Very linking up there, but that's the story. They'll be linking for the moon landing there with Apollo 14 in about 5 or 6 minutes. Well, I guess time for a little local news from Hawke's Bay. In Hastings, police say they are satisfied there are no suspicious circumstances surrounding the death from knife wounds of a Maori woman on the steps of Our Lady of Lourdes Roman Catholic Church in Havelock North earlier today. Senior Sergeant Jones told ZC News the woman exchanged greetings with the parish priest outside the church this morning. Later, when the priest was leaving the church, he found the woman dead on the steps. The woman, described as in her late 30s, died from a series of knife wounds, but so far police haven't released the dead woman's name. The Hawke's Bay Motor Company is to take delivery of the two new Mercedes-Benz coaches at the end of the month. The buses, which are expected to cost more than $30,000, will be two of only three which have been built up from the Mercedes-Benz chassis in New Zealand. Although the well-known German motor and chassis is used extensively by trucking companies, this is the first time they've been used for buses. Hawke's Bay Motor Company will use the buses mainly for tours with its subsidiary company, Kauai Tours. A senior division of the St. John Ambulance Brigade has been formed, but this is the first time a senior branch has been organized. Negotiations were with the Hastings Sub-Centre with a view to Havelock North becoming an independent sub-centre. Bank to 10...
So that's interesting, there's stuff on the tape. I knew there was something to do with moon landing stuff on here, because I remember that from a very long time ago when I first got hold of this stuff. I can't remember whether this tape came with this machine or not. It seems a bit weird because you'd think there'd be a normal size take-up reel. Yeah, I don't know, I can't remember where or how I got hold of this thing. It's just been here with me for a very long time now. Okay. It's interesting that this switch will control the playback as well as the record.
Happening there from the Supremes. And we should have that happening very shortly. In a couple of minutes, we should be linking up for the Apollo 14 moon landing.
I guess it's from the early 70s then.
The Supremes is the better of the two sources. And the two guidance sources. 8 minutes into the burn now. Imperial Houston, you're good, 8. Roger. Power down partially. In other words, we're past the biggest part of the breaking phase now.
Is this going to cause copyright issues? Perhaps we should try the other tape. There's probably good recordings of this event that you can find elsewhere. I don't know if it's worth trying to recover this. Like, throw away all this tape so I've got a proper take-up reel, and then I can extract the full recording. I don't know, is there any value in doing that? Apparently this is a speech on dogs. And I'm wondering if this is the one that came with this. Maybe. 'Cause I think I know the person that gave me this, but I don't know if this machine was part of the deal. It's a speech on dogs. I don't know if that's very interesting to listen to. I'll try this one just quickly, see what that's got. It's like a surface mount component reel. The hub's a little bit, or whatever that is, the axle thing's a bit bigger, but the idea is the same with those three little notchy things. This is 10 mic X5R caps. 22 mic X5R caps. X5R, bit stink. Probably why I've got it, because it was being thrown out. Really want to get an X7R. Good stuff. Less drifty with temperature. You have to thread it up yourself. Just bring it up into that. Oh, okay. Bring it up into that little slot on the take-up reel, and then you're good to go. Okay, that's. Okay, that's got some quite rough stuff on it. Yeah, the fast forward will start off very slow because of this small size, but as more tape gets on there, it will start winding faster and faster. Okay, very good. Perhaps then we'll look at the other machine that I've got. We'll try and do a 2-in-1 special today. What should I do with this machine? Think I should try and sell it or give it away to somebody? I'm trying to reduce the amount of stuff I've got laying about here, because there is too much. So despite whatever that thing was that's fallen off, that under there, this seems to be a fairly well working machine. Reasonably well, good and working. With a really nice plug on it. Almost want to keep it just for that. So that was Aiwa TP730. Solid state portable. Now we've got this sort of suitcase thing. It's a model popular Elizabethan tape recorders limited, made in England. 65 watts. Now this thing was, a person at work gave this to me because they didn't know what to do with it. It had been left by someone that had stayed at their house briefly. Amazingly, there's foam that still works. Imagine that. Guess it's just the modern stuff that doesn't work. Look at this thing. Also got some tape, but look, there's a potentially useful take-up reel there. Yes, look, there's screws under those bungs. I think we should take a look inside this thing before we try turning it on as well, because it's even older by the look of it. Got that sort of ugly roundedness of the old days on it. Like it's Windows 11 styled. Okay, perhaps we'll just get these off for now, and we'll try and take a look inside this thing. So it comes with a microphone. You can get it out. The cord's gone very rigid, and the plug is gone. Interesting, it seems to have like some kind of RCA plug on it, with a really long schnoz on it. Look at that. I'm wondering if that when you plug it in there, it turns off something else because it's got mic and radio inputs, so maybe they get enabled by that long thing reaching in and it would cut off the other one. Maybe, but that doesn't really make sense, does it? There's a trick switch. Don't know what that means. There's a record. That kind of a thing. Yeah, that's a bit... it's really interesting how this cord has gone so solid. There's also a power cord in here. Look at that. Really crusty old plug. At least it's wired correctly. And that cord just seems to go into in a vent there. Little vent slot thing. So to make it go, you put it to start. I guess you bring that to record when you start it. Yeah, and it's got a rewind and a fast forward. Oh, look at that. You can see those move around. So there must be some kind of idler tire thing in there that they get pushed against. And there's one of those. There's a really interesting on-off switch. Made like that to set the style of these tone and volume controls. Okay. Let's get this panel off and have a look what's under there. Oh look, it's got tubes in it. Look at that. Is that a tube? No, that's probably a neon thing. What is that? That's really interesting. It might be some kind of like VU meter kind of thing made by a neon tube. Look at that. That's very hard out for pinch roller engagement. Interesting there, it says BSR and it looks like there's glue over there, so that must have been rebadged from something else. Screws like that. I thought this thing would all come out of the suitcase as one piece, like it was a thing that had been mounted in a suitcase, but maybe not. Well, there's that, look at that. There's several different wheel things in there. And there's dents in that, so it runs quite rough. I think that's the motor shaft there. Oh, look at that. It's kind of little coil thing. Okay, so it'll be quite noisy when it's running. And there's brakes on the reels. Start. So it's started. Mechanically that will probably still work because they're all still turning. Interesting thing. Okay, so I must do something. Okay, this thing will lift out now by the look of it. Oh, that grill thing that the power cord goes through is just a kind of cardboard thing. I'm presuming there's a speaker in the front there because it's got this kind of grill-like stuff. Well, there's a speaker somewhere. Maybe it's on the side. Find out in a moment. It's on the side. There's the speaker there. Look at that. They've tied a knot to stop you yoinking that power cable out. Disgusting. Look at that. It is a valve or tubes. Ah, look at that. When you move the record thing, it goes to this rotary switch that changes various things around. And yeah, nice little shaded pole motor there. And a super dodgy old capacitor. It'll probably explode when we try and turn this thing on. So one of these will be the power transformer, and there's another transformer under there which will probably be the speaker, like matching transformer. Yes, I guess, yeah. There's a microphone plug. It does look like it has some kind of switch thing in it, I'm not sure though. And that trick play thing, a very tiny wire going to that. And the capacitors are cracked. Yeah, this is all going to be very dodgy if we try turning this thing on. That'll be some kind of high voltage diode thing. I don't know if I can get this thing turned around properly so we can take a look. Maybe we can just sit it in upside down. Let's have a close look at this business in here. There's a red outer capacitor. Red outer. It says 16 and 16 microfarads. Red outer. 350 volts max, 426 volts surge. And then there's this other thing under there. Look at that, it's got terminals on it. I was wondering maybe that's the bridge rectifier. It does seem to be coming off the transformer. I guess that's an old school diode bridge. All the wires. That one's still nice, but these ones are very rigid. Oh, they might be single core, like solid core wires. Oh, that good stuff. Back in the good old days. It's just made of little post things and the valve sockets. And that's it, everything's just point to point wired. Okay. Well, perhaps we should juice this up and see what it's got to say. Look at that. There's a tiny little coil thing just sort of hanging out there by the playback or record head. There's super little wires going up onto it. Not sure what that's all about. And then the erase head, got 2 little tiny wires going to it. So we'll plug this thing in, and if it doesn't explode straight away, we'll have to wait a little while for the tubes to warm up before they'll come to life. Let's put back the various covers and things. Just want to make it blast proof as possible before turning this thing on, because otherwise it will be a bit dodgy. I think we can just sit these things on. So this was a 220 volt thing. Just wondering if I should find an isolating transformer to run this, or I don't know, I don't really need those in. Just little knob thingies. An interesting shape. Or was that one up the other way? No, they only go around one way. Yeah, so that's some kind of neon tube thing. Weird. We'll just put that to on. I don't know which way is louder and not loud on this thing. So this could be a SF tape side 2. So we're starting off with side 1. And this take up is a Soundcraft. It's bigger than that. Okay. This one doesn't have a speed selection. So I don't know what it actually got branded tape there. Must have been made on a big wide piece and it's being sliced down. Does that make sense? Does that make a meter wide audio tape and then chop it down to the 2-inch machines and 1 inches, and then these are a 1/4 inch? It's not in far enough. There we go. So there's little what was that? Oh, it's that little plug thing. Posts with a groove in them to get the tape properly lined up with the heads. So I'm going to go and find something I can hook that up to, and then I'll be back and we'll try it. Alright, I found a thing. Check this out. It's Standard Telephones and Cable Limited. Isolating transformer. I used to use that on an oven that had a ground fault. Which was a bit dodgy because it wasn't even rated high enough for that, but it did the job. So we're going to plug it in through that and pretend that that's going to make it less dodgy. And we'll see what happens. You know, I was wondering, should I power it up through like 120 volts or something to start off with to help form the capacitors a little bit. I think that would be a good idea, to find some kind of adapter for the plug. Maybe this. Good collection of goodies there. It's for those disgusting scraping earth things, or that thing that pokes out from the socket. Weird. And here, Euro plug to Japan, US. So we could try plugging it in then to much lower voltage, just to see. Well, it will just give the capacitors a bit of a tickle over. It's not enough to actually make it go, or it's broken. Maybe we should be looking to see if it drew any power then. Somewhere I've got that power strip with a meter on it. I've used that thing for a while. This good thing, remember that from when we were doing computers? We've got a good brand name on that power strip. So if we try plugging it into this first, 123 volts today, and we'll just see, does it draw any power? Oh, look at that. Well, listen to that. That's interesting, because on 100 volts from this other one, didn't do anything. I guess that's just below the threshold. Oh, there's no take up. Well, that's promising, isn't it? 7 watts there. Fast forward, so not very energetic, is it? Rewind. It seems to stall the motor. Alright, well in that case, maybe we should just go for broke now. We've given it a little bit of a chance to warm up a bit. Whoa. I don't know which way is loudest. Oh, that's starting to glow. Racket. I can't tell if that noise is that an empty tape noise, or is it well, I don't know. Do you think, should we test this tape on the other machine first, or get the tape from that other machine to see? Maybe we'll get the tape, that will be easier, won't it? Try it out, and then at least we know we're starting from something that has got audio on it. This weird little thing on there. Might not be the right speed, but okay. Oops, I twisted that up. I don't want to break off too much more at the beginning of this, because it might be useful. Okay. Shame it makes so much noise. Yeah, the speaker's over here. Yeah, I'm guessing it's in not very good shape because, oh, obviously it's very, very old and hasn't had any caps replaced or anything. So it potentially would work, unless the audio head's gone open circuit or something like that. It's pretty hard to know. Well, we could just measure it. So there you go. That's a popular 200 open reel tape recorder that sort of worked. It's pretty interesting. A bit crusty and old. We'll just try the tape that was in it in this machine that does still seem to function, just to see is there anything interesting on there. Now, hopefully, is this reel too big to fit on this machine? Oh, that's annoying, isn't it? Look at that. It's too big. Well, we can just run it off into the weeds. Okay, it's got some kind of music on it. I want to get the rest of the tape over there. How can I get this off in a tidy way without making a big mess? That's very disappointing. Finally got a big take-up reel and it's too big. Nearly there. There we go, look at that, it's got a nice leader on it. Yeah, so we have to use that the little tiny take-up reel if we want to use this tape for real, but then again we're limited to the short thing. We're limited by the length, it's not long enough. Well, this isn't big enough to... Anyway, whatever. No, that's munted. Standard. What does that say on there? Standard LCS 52. Okay. Oh, it's got a metallic bit. Ah, you see there's a metallic strip there at just after the leader. Maybe that weird coil thing that was on the tape head, could that have picked that up?
That was good. But then they switched to the Maxi. Never should, never should. Then maybe came the
Particularly high quality, is it? That leader flapping around could be a cause of bother. Great. Before we get a content match on that, just to finish off, let's try this one and then we can say we've tried, well, not quite all of them, but a bunch of different tapes. Presumably it would go that way. Oh, there must be a trick to getting that in there without it getting hooked up on things. Yeah, there were smaller machines that could only go up to that size. It's way less tape though, because yeah, as the diameter gets more, you fit a lot more in. Maybe it's blank? Maybe it's blank, I don't know. I thought there was something on here, but it's been a very long time, so I don't know. Unless it's on the other side. Possibility. Oh, there you go. Alright, I was wondering, is it possible that was originally the reel that went on? Don't know. It's all a bit tedious, isn't it? Okay, there you go, that's reel-to-reel audio tape recorders and players from my collection of random stuff. Yeah, hopefully that was interesting, a little bit different from VCRs, a little bit different to VCRs. Instead it was two open reel tape recorders. Is that $1.45? Maybe. Great! See you next time for more exciting things.